Dog refuses to let babies sleep alone. When parents find out why, they call the police. Jessie and David's home situation was very normal until Jessie gave birth to a beautiful daughter. Ever since that moment, their family dog, Benji, shook things up completely. Benji would not let their daughter sleep alone, and when they got separated, she would not stop barking. When David realized what was going on, he got the shock of his life. He immediately called the police, and they came with every available officer. When the first police officer arrived, he could not believe what he was witnessing. How could a dog have noticed this? He told David that he should be very happy with such an observant dog. Deep down, David knew that he had screwed up. He should have been the one protecting his daughter. Within minutes, at least a dozen more police cars arrived at the scene. They immediately started asking questions to both David and Jessie. The couple was in shock. They had no idea of the gravity of the situation until now. What the officers came for was disturbing for sure, but the fact that it already started when Jessie was pregnant was even more alarming. They had trusted the wrong people. But why did Benji refuse to let their daughter sleep alone? And what did David eventually figure out that such a large police presence was necessary? It all started when Jessie was finally pregnant. They both wanted this for a very long time. However, there was something that was bugging both of them: their dog, Benji. They were hesitant about her reaction to the baby. Jessie had read some horror stories only from dogs that would not accept another family member. Jessie and David both hoped that Benji would accept this. Otherwise, they were definitely going to bring Benji to a shelter. Then one day, when Benji finally noticed that Jessie was pregnant, she started barking at Jessie's belly repeatedly. Benji did not seem happy with the pregnancy. She started to act really weird. They could not figure out what was triggering this behavior. Did Benji feel threatened, or was there something wrong with the baby that Benji could feel? Jessie had to get answers, and quick, before it would be too late. Jessie asked David to take Benji to the veterinarian. They had to make sure that there was nothing going on with Benji before they would need to choose between the baby or the dog. That choice would not be easy, but deep down, they knew that if they had to choose, they would definitely choose to bring Benji to a shelter as she could not accept the baby. This was to keep their daughter safe at all times. However, the vet could not bring clarity. He did some medical checks to see if the doll was okay. There was nothing wrong. He told David that she must be feeling something that was going on with the baby. He advised David to take Jessie to the hospital for some checkups. When David brought the news to Jessie, she started crying. She felt like everything was wrong. Jessie mustered up all of her courage to call her doctor. He told her to come in immediately. Jessie called her friend Anne, who was there for her almost every day to take her. She had been helping during the pregnancy around the house. She showed up within minutes to help her friend get to the hospital. When arriving there, the receptionist told her she could go in. The doctor did some elaborate medical tests to make sure everything was all right. The ultrasound as well as other tests did not indicate anything that was wrong with Jessie or the baby. They still did not get the answers they were looking for. When they arrived home, Jessie broke down. She kept crying. She did not want to choose between her child and the dog. Anne comforted her and told Jessie that she would be there for them when they couldn't be home and would become their babysitter. She had plenty of time, discomforted Jessie. There would always be someone there to keep an eye on Benji. A couple of weeks later, Jessie finally gave birth to a beautiful girl, Lily. Benji had still acted strange, but then one more erratic behavior started happening. The first few weeks, everything seemed to go fine. Both Jessie and David were home to care for their little girl. Benji seemed to have calmed down. But when they started working and called them with some concerning news, she told Jessie that Benji refused to let Lily sleep alone. Benji would not leave her side. Jessie was totally baffled. When she told David, he did not think much of it. Then one day, Anne called in distress. She had separated Benji from Lily, and after returning downstairs, she was attacked by Benji. Benji was definitely overprotective. David knew that Benji had to be punished for this behavior. With a heavy heart, he went back to the veterinarian, and the vet gave David a choice. He could bring Benji to a shelter, or he could figure out why Benji was acting this way, because the vet had a feeling something was off. David took offense to a comment that the vet made. He said to David that they were probably the problem. Benji did not trust them to let Lily sleep alone. However, David knew deep down that there was something else. He could not be the problem, could he? For a while, they decided to observe Benji together with Lily. Lily seemed to love the dog, and then she definitely loved Lily. They could not say goodbye to Benji because she was overprotective. The problem was that whenever David would bring Lily to bed, or Lily fell asleep, Benji would be at her side. David just accepted the situation. Until one day, Anne called to say that she was bitten by Benji. This gave David a sudden realization. David realized that Benji only reacted strangely when Anne was around. Benji was calm when she was not around. Anne must be the problem, he knew it. Jessie told David that he must calm down, but she refused to let David do anything erratic. Jessie told David that Benji refused to let Lily sleep alone at night as well, so Anne couldn't be the problem, could she? Jessie came up with a genius idea. She told David to install cameras around the house to keep an eye on Benji and Lily. This would definitely get some more answers. They could even keep an eye on Anne during the day. Anne seemed to be hesitant about David installing cameras in the house. She asked if it was necessary and would cause this. David thought this was very suspicious. He already did not trust her, and now she started asking all of these questions. When David reviewed the first few days of footage, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Benji was still very protective. Benji constantly kept an eye on Anne. It started to look like Benji did not trust her. David wanted to confront Anne. David had to do this without Jessie knowing. They were best friends after all. David got himself really mad and yelled at Anne, "What are you doing to my daughter?" Anne was totally caught off guard. She assured David she had no bad intentions and fired back at David. She was furious. How could she have done anything? Stupid dog behaved like this ever since Jessie was pregnant, and she was not even around during the night. Then Jessie came home. Jessie got really mad at David for confronting Anne like this. She could not believe that he was accusing her best friend of being a threat to Lily. Jessie gave David an ultimatum: either figure it out quickly or get rid of Benji. David realized that moment that Anne had said something that would give him all the answers he needed. Benji reacted the same way at night. He had never reviewed the night footage, but now he definitely will. David started up the software. He gasped when he realized that every single night the recordings were wiped off the hard drive. There was definitely something really strange going on here. But what? He decided to make a separate encrypted backup every day for the night recordings. David knew for sure that he would get to the bottom of this. Benji had probably noticed something that neither he nor Jessie could sense. The next day, David was eager to watch the footage. His suspicions soon got confirmed when he loaded up the recordings. The footage of the baby's room was disturbing. He saw something entering through the window. David was in complete shock. He felt his heart pounding in his chest. When he reviewed more of the footage, he was even more shocked. He had to call the police before this got out of control quickly. David explained what he had seen. They told him they would immediately send all available officers to his home. David knew he just had discovered something huge. But what warranted such a huge police presence? David called Jessie to come home, and within minutes he heard sirens outside his house. The first officers that arrived, Jessie arrived home as well. She demanded an explanation, and when David showed her the footage, she fell on her knees. Why? An officer told Jessie and David that they had to be proud of their dog for sensing this. They reviewed the footage and immediately asked David more questions about their home situation. He explained their dog's behavior and reaction to Anne. This triggered the officer. "Where is she?" he asked. They wanted to ask her questions. He gave them her number, but she could not be reached. Where was Annie? They asked for more information, and Jessie told them everything they wanted to know. Meanwhile, Benji was upstairs with Lily. When officers entered the room, she immediately ran over to the wall and started barking at it. It looked like Benji wanted to tell the officer something. There was something hidden in the wall. They used a sledgehammer to destroy the wall. They destroyed the wall without even asking David or Jessie. There was a hidden compartment behind the wall. What was going on here? Without hesitation, they pulled everything out of there, including a safe. They had to get a safe cracker. In the meantime, other officers were running a background scan on Ann Anderson. What they came up with shocked Jessie and David. There was no Ann. She was not findable in a database, nor was she ever registered anywhere. This person, whoever was, fabricated her whole life. Jessie broke down. She had known her best friend for over 10 years now. How could this be happening? What was in the safe? Eventually, a safe cracker arrived, and Benji, in the meantime, kept barking at the safe. She also kept a close eye on Lily. She smelled something. When the safe cracker was finally done, they realized the gravity of the situation. A whole bunch of money, jewelry, documents, and passports were found inside the safe. When opening one of the passports, the officer recognized the person. Jessie screamed, "That's Anne." They found a hidden stash from Anne. The police captain came to Jessie. He told them that they were dealing with an international spy named Elizabeth Holmes. She was wanted in 17 countries for espionage. Jessie was shocked. The reason she infiltrated the lives of Jessie and David is that David works as the director of the National Security Company. He has access to the entire national security grid. Elizabeth had probably been hired by a rival company to leak secrets. At night, she wiped the footage and tried cracking David's computer. Benji was the only one that noticed something about Elizabeth. This is why Benji tried her very best to protect Lily from any danger that she could sense. Benji had cracked this case wide open. Officers told David that he should be very proud of their dog. Eventually, they managed to catch Elizabeth trying to leave the country. She had noticed the police presence at the house, and she was not going to get caught. But when she did, she confessed everything. Benji saved the day. Benji and Lily grew up as best friends. Lily eventually learned the entire story from her parents. She and Benji were inseparable ever since. Benji never stopped looking out for Lily. David and Jessie tried to be more careful about who they let into their house. If they made a mistake again, at least they had Benji to watch out for them.